Hello and welcome to PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale history, where in each episode I'll be taking a character from the All-Stars roster and delving into their origins. Today we'll be looking at Sackboy, the star of the PS3's major 2D platformer franchise, Little Big Planet. In order to understand Little Big Planet as a series, we need to know exactly what the titular planet is too. According to the intro of each game, it's a cosmic construct built out of dreams and imagination, fueled by the creativity of people on Earth. Ideas are what keep Little Big Planet alive. Sounds very philosophical, but it's not. It all relates to the game's ethos of play, create and share, which means that not only there are a bunch of levels to play around in, but you can also create a bunch more yourself and let them loose on the world, sharing them with others. How marvellous. As a result, the aesthetics of Little Big Planet are essentially built around arts and crafts. The world is made out of cardboard and sponge and various other bits of materials that look like they were fashioned by a mad Blue Peter presenter. And the key inhabitant of this world? Well, let's ask Stephen Fry.
On the Little Big Planet, you're a little sack person. This one is you? Oh, bless. You're quite a cute one.
Indeed. In fact, not only are sack people cute, but they're also a perfect representation of the craft theme of the games. Put simply, Sackboy isn't a complex character. He's a player avatar in a world where your imagination rules. He's a customizable cloth doll that runs, jumps, collects bubbles, and helps build worlds. Bit of an odd choice for PlayStation All-Stars then? A little bit, but while he may not seem like much of a fighter, he does have a few tricks up his sleeve. So let's take a look at some of those moves. In fact, it's notable that Sackboy's moveset in PlayStation All-Stars features exactly one melee move, a slap. You see, Sackboy doesn't have many attack moves in his original game. There are enemies, sure, but they're largely dispatched through jumping on them or solving puzzles. In fact, the slap isn't even used on enemies, it's actually a way of messing around with other players. You see, in Little Big Planet, it's possible to waggle Sackboy's arms around like a mad windmill, and through this it's also possible to swing your arms at fellow players and slap them. It's completely silly, but then, so is Sackboy. Speaking of waggling arms, much of this, as well as the ability to change Sackboy's expression as you wished, features in the I Like to Boogie intro, the Rock On Victory pose, and two of his losing animations. So without any other melee moves, how on earth did Superbot construct a moveset for this cheeky little burlap fellow? Simple. They turned to the gadgets of Little Big Planet. Early on in the first game, Sackboy gained a jetpack which allowed him to fly around. It was utilised in a variety of ways, initially used for a simple physics-based weight distribution puzzle before progressing on to more dangerous things like transporting explosives. Be careful, Sackboy! Oh dear. The jetpack also made an appearance in the karting spin-off game, appropriately titled Little Big Planet Karting, only this time it was a speed boost. You drove into the jetpack and off you rocketed, forcing your opponents to eat your dust. The jetpack in PlayStation All-Stars is similar to the one seen in karting. Unlike the first game where it allowed you to fly around, this jetpack shoots Sackboy forwards, allowing him to tackle anyone in his way. He also has a vertical variation which does largely the same thing, but upwards. The jetpack also features in one of Sackboy's intros and a victory animation. Now the question is, what on earth is that thing Sackboy's driving into, and why does it look so much like something from Sackboy's PlayStation All-Stars moveset? Well, I'm glad I asked. That thing is a bounce pad, and it first appeared in Little Big Planet 2. It was a new feature introduced to expand the jumping puzzles by giving Sackboy a way to jump even higher than usual. Found in various levels, there were static tiles that, if stepped on, propelled Sackboy into the stratosphere. Look at him go! However, you may notice that Sackboy has no control over bounce pads in gameplay, which makes their use as a shield entirely unique to PlayStation All-Stars. However, his bounce move is almost identical to when you step on a bounce pad in the original game. Placing it is more like creation mode, but we'll get to that soon. Sackboy also pulls out a bounce pad for one of his taunts in PlayStation All-Stars, and his animations in this taunt are similar to the animations in the original game. Now, while you're bouncing around with Sackboy in Little Big Planet 2, the bouncy fun gets an extra dimension with the introduction of a grappling hook, given to you by the eccentric Larry da Vinci. With this, Sackboy can grapple and swing, and occasionally guide his bounce pad bouncing in specific places. It's a fun gadget that appears frequently in the game, and is even used in defeating the final boss, who we'll be seeing more of in a future video. The grappling hook was very easy to use in Little Big Planet. It auto-targeted to the nearest spongy surface when fired, and Sackboy's position while hanging from it could be adjusted by moving up and down, with swinging controlled with left and right, and so easy that a monkey could do it. Its use in PlayStation All-Stars is made even simpler, since instead of hanging, Sackboy instantly pulls himself up to tackle his opponent. The next gadget Sackboy encounters in Little Big Planet 2 is the Grabinator, which sounds incredibly impressive and important, but this gadget is little more than a pair of fancy gloves that allow Sackboy to lift things. Originally introduced to help cake entrepreneur Victoria Bond Bathysphere defend her train against attack by enemies, it worked with Sackboy lifting objects over his head, allowing him to throw them wherever he wished. Like all his other gadgets, it works a little differently in PlayStation All-Stars. This time, instead of throwing the opponent after lifting them above his head, he will instead perform a suplex move. God knows where the little guy gets the strength. As part of the same train defense level, one of the items that Sackboy can pick up and throw around with gay abandon is a ball of gooey jam. This jam was versatile, used for smushing against high switches to open routes, as well as for taking down a variety of baddies. So naturally, it's a projectile move for Sackboy in All-Stars. Throwing is a little different, since instead of clumsily chucking it forwards, Sackboy now does a very fancy volleyball spike to knock the jam away, the little show-off. Sackboy will also bounce around on the jam for one of his taunts, but this is unique to this game. Continuing with the confectionery theme, it wasn't long before Victoria gave Sackboy a device known as a Cakeinator. The technical explanation for what a Cakeinator does is that it's a hat that shoots stuff. What it shoots is entirely up to the person who sets it up, and Victoria had naturally set it to shoot cakes and called it the Cakeinator, because what else is a cake maker supposed to do with it? The cakes were also fairly versatile, since they had super sticky icing on them and would stick to walls and floors, allowing Sackboy to use the spongy part as a platform, something that was frequently incorporated into puzzles. The PlayStation All-Stars Cakeinator is basically the same thing, and I can't really make any comment on it. Just look at how identical they are. The cakes are just as sticky and will hang around for a little while where they will continue to do damage. The only major difference now is that you can't aim it. So that's gadgets, and now it's time to talk Popits. A Popit is a portable menu that Sackboy carries around everywhere, allowing him to perform a variety of tasks, such as laying down stickers and changing his outfit, both of which we'll be talking about later. But it also acts as his tool bag for Create Mode, which also makes an appearance in all of the following moves. In Create Mode, Sackboy could pull out various materials, logic tools, connector tools, a variety of other tools used in the construction of a level. One major tool required in all levels was a checkpoint. A checkpoint, for those of you who don't play games, allows you to respawn somewhere other than the start of a level, although a checkpoint also existed at the start of every Little Big Planet level anyway. Checkpoints in Little Big Planet took the form of gong shield things, it's a technical term, with a strip of light around them that acted as Sackboy's life counter. Every time Sackboy died, a portion of this light strip would go black until eventually the checkpoint would flash red and sound an alarm to say, "Hey, you only live once, so be careful, okay?" That said, checkpoints were also used as a means of escape, since Sackboy had a self-destruct button, most likely implemented in case some players didn't playtest their levels properly and created inescapable dead ends. This took the form of Sackboy puffing himself up so much that he burst, resulting in a need to respawn back at the last checkpoint. This use of checkpoints as a means of escape was thus brought into PlayStation All-Stars, allowing Sackboy to place a checkpoint anywhere he chooses, giving him the ability to pop and teleport to his checkpoint and out of danger. The checkpoint also appropriately appears as one of Sackboy's intros, reflecting his entrance into a level. Sackboy will also pop himself in frustration in one of his losing animations. So what else does Sackboy have in his bag of tricks? Well, how about some deadly hazards, designed to cause havoc and mayhem to all who wander into his levels. It's mean, but it's a tough world out there for Sack people. There were various types of hazards in Little Big Planet, ranging from deadly gas to face-melting plasma to gruesome-looking spikes. But the one we're most interested in is electricity. In Little Big Planet, it was possible to electrify elements in your levels once you'd placed them, causing instant death to anyone who touched them. In PlayStation All-Stars though, Sackboy has gained the ability to place an already electrified material down on the battlefield. Now the process of making electrified elements in Little Big Planet seems to take a long time, but in PlayStation All-Stars, Sackboy pulls out one in an instant. This is a reference to the fact that in the original game, you could make an item and then save it to your Popit for later use. Evidently, Sackboy in PlayStation All-Stars has done exactly that. Stickers. Stephen, what are they?
Collecting stickers is the height of cool in Little Big Planet.
Absolutely. They were the most common prize that Sackboy could pick up in Little Big Planet, and they had multiple uses. As well as a way of decorating your part of the central hub area that acts as the game's main menu, they could also be used to jazz up your created levels and make them uniquely yours, and some could even act as keys in certain levels, allowing you to pick up even more goodies. So naturally they became throws in PlayStation or... wait, what? Well, Okay, maybe it's a bit of an odd choice considering that Sackboy actually does have a throw move that we've already discussed, and stickers in their original appearance don't exactly scream offensive move unless you spell out offensive move in letter stickers and add a screaming mouth. Really? Okay. Sackboy also uses his boxing glove sticker in one of his taunts, in another example of things you can't do in Little Big Planet. While we're still sort of on the subject of level creation, I should probably mention that placing materials incorrectly in a level could cause all kinds of disaster for Sackboy. If things were left floating with no tether or connection, they could fall, sometimes right on top of our little friend. It's tragic, and this is also possibly referenced in one of his losing animations. I should probably mention the fan. This move in PlayStation All-Stars has no origin in Little Big Planet at all. In fact, I'm not entirely sure why it's there. Oddly, a similar device does appear in Little Big Planet 3, but that game was released well after All-Stars. Hell, it was released after I made the original version of this video. Did Little Big Planet take inspiration from PlayStation All-Stars? We may never know.
Level 1!
Now, as cute as Sackboy is, dry, brown burlap is so last century. No need to be sad, little Sack, for we can change this. Remember how I said that Sackboy was customizable? Well, in Little Big Planet, Sackboy had a whole wardrobe of different outfits he could wear. And just look at that swaggering fashionista. This is naturally referenced in Sackboy's colours and costumes in PlayStation All-Stars. The brown burlap default is, well, his default. Well, all colours are taken from different materials you can change a naked Sackboy to, including green floral damask, zebra, and colourful carpet. Another material skin referenced in PlayStation All-Stars is the Skeleton Boy costume, which is based on the zombie material. The alt colours for this are all unique to All-Stars though. Sackboy doesn't necessarily have to be a Sackboy, she can also be a girl. This is illustrated in PlayStation All-Stars by giving Sackgirl the white burlap material, the long lash eyes, and the pink scarf accessory. Some of her hair colours in her alt colours are based on how the hair changes colour if you change your personal's colour scheme, while the orange colour Sackgirl may be made out of orange denim. The others are kinda unique to PlayStation All-Stars. The later wrestler costume released as DLC was, appropriately, DLC in Little Big Planet as well. Released as part of the sports package, this turns Sackboy into a wrestler with a face guard. Just like Sackgirl, the colour changes are based on other materials and colour schemes from Little Big Planet, although not necessarily entirely accurately. But as well as a variety of outfits available in the original games and in All-Stars, it was also possible to buy even more outfits from PlayStation Network, many of which included fellow PlayStation All-Stars fighters such as Kratos and Nathan Drake, and others. Unsurprisingly, these cross-franchise costume shenanigans have not gone unreferenced. In fact, this is Sackboy's level 1, where he pops on a costume for another character in the game and dashes forward, performing an attack as that character. I could talk about Drake's rope swing, Parappa's skateboard, or Cole's amp, but those are for later videos.
Level 2!
Speaking of Cole, let's take a look at Sackboy's level 2 super. Hot coals are another hazard seen in Little Big Planet, and unlike all the others we spoke about earlier, this one wasn't an instant kill in Little Big Planet. That's right, the hazard implemented as one of Sackboy's supers wasn't originally an instant kill. Unlike other hazards, Sackboy could touch one of these once and survive. He just singed his toes a little bit. Should he touch coals again while trying to call his digits, however, he would die. It's a little strange that this is the super though, while the electricity is just a normal move. Coals are just that little bit more iconic since they were one of the more common hazards seen in Little Big Planet, and were one of the first we saw on a major scale in the first game. Just like the electric pad, making these coals was a little time consuming in Little Big Planet, so Sackboy's clearly just saved some pre-made coals to his Popit.
Level 3!
Well, we talked about collecting stickers and other goodies earlier on, and the question is, how did you collect them? Bubbles, my dear viewer. Throughout Little Big Planet you could find bubbles, and these came in two forms. The first was a small one, called the score bubble. Shockingly, collecting this added points to your level score. Collecting enough in quick succession caused a multiplier to appear which would continue to rise as long as you kept collecting score bubbles. Collect bubbles really quickly, and you, my friend, were going to be getting an awful lot of points. The second type of bubble was the prize bubble, and these were the ones you really wanted to go for. These were bigger and contained various items, so if you wanted stickers, costumes, music, or even just a new material to build with, you'd want to look out for these magical orbs. You also gain prize bubbles at the end of a level, not just for completing it, but also for not dying, and for finding all the other prizes in that particular level. And so they got introduced as Sackboy's level 3 super. Sackboy's opponents are all placed in bubbles and left to float around for Sackboy to pick up. There are also other bubbles placed on the stage too, and I like to think that the bubbles containing AP are representative of score bubbles, even though they're the same size as the prize bubbles here. A prize bubble also appears in one of Sackboy's victory animations, possibly referencing the end level bubbles you could get. The music that plays during the level 3 as well as his victory themes are based on an original piece which will be covered in the Dreamscape video. So that's Sackboy. I hope this video has helped you understand this little burlap chap a little more and why his moves are so unusual. After all, Sackboy is a creator, not a fighter, and his moves accurately represent this. I will see you next time with another character. Stay tuned.